Good evening, board members and residents. I'd like to call to order our regular board meeting for Monday, March 9th, 2026. I would ask that everyone present please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Witt, will you please take the roll call?
Yes, Mr. Backens?
Here.
Mr. Brado?
Here.
Ms. Brown?
Here.
Mr. Olgiati? Here. Mr. Tominello is asked to be excused. Mr. Witt? Here. Mr. Verkest?
Here. Thank you. Next on our agenda is the approval of the consent agenda, including approval of the regular board meeting minutes of February 23rd, 2026, approval of the workshop minutes of February 23rd, 2026, approval of the bills in the amount of $1,561,133.93, and approval for water bill postage. Unless there are any amendments or questions, I'd be looking for a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
So moved.
All right, is there support?
Support.
We've got a motion by Mr. Olgiati with support by Ms. Brown. Discussion on the motion. Hearing none and seeing no public comment, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Thank you, Board. Next is the approval of the regular agenda. I'm not aware of any amendments. If there are none, I'd be looking for a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
So moved.
All right, is there support?
Support.
And a motion by Mr. Badkids, support by Mr. Brado. Discussion on the motion. Hearing none and seeing no public comment, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Thank you, Board. Next is announcements. I do have a few brief announcements. First, just a reminder that although the weather feels like spring, our compost and yard waste pickup does not begin again for the season until the first week of April. If you have any questions, please refer to our township website under the Residents tab, where you can find waste hauler information. Our Harrison Township firefighters, Local 1737, will be hosting their annual Easter egg hunt on Saturday, March 28th at 10 a.m. Be held at the football field at Lance Cruz High School. If you have any questions, please reach out to the fire department directly, 586-466-1450. And as always, for information on these, as well as any other township events, you can call the supervisor's office, 586-466-1445, or visit our website, www.harrisontownshipmi.gov. Any board announcements? Hearing none, I'd like to invite up to the podium our County Commissioner, Ms. Barb Zinner, for a brief update.
Hello and thank you. I know you have a busy agenda tonight, so I'll just hit you with a few things from last month. Our meetings are next week for this month. I'm always off on my meetings with the way your meetings are. We always like to keep our sheriff deputies in good standing. So we had tactical operations training and equipment for the sheriff's SWAT team and body armor for the sheriff's SWAT team this last month that we purchased for them. Also, Martha Teaberry, for anyone here that's not really familiar with that, that's a care facility that the county is in charge of. It's 75 years old, and that's for people who need financial help with their care. And it's been there for 75 years. They give excellent care. They get fabulous awards from around the country for that care. And we need to put in another. We have to redo an elevator for the needs. It's state mandated. You'll see $1 a month for 12 months coming on your bill. But that's $1 a month for 12 months. There's no strings attached. That's all that there is. With everybody putting that money in, that will take care of the $2 billion cost for that elevator. And as I said, it's state mandated, so to have it. So that's for that situation that you'll be seeing. There was approving on a brownfield plan in Roseville which is always good to have things better rather than not better. And really, that's pretty much the main things, the main priorities that.
All right, great. Thank you for the work you're doing, representing us from Macomb County. Any announcements? Hearing none, we'll move forward on our agenda to item D1 from the clerk's office.
Yes, at our February 9th, 2026 board meeting, this board adopted resolution number 2, which set today as the date for the first public hearing for the Archer and Lakeshore Canal Sediment Removal Special Assessment District. This is known as the public hearing of necessity. So we did send out notice of the public hearing, and it was published twice in the Macomb, once in the Macomb Daily and once in the Journal, and letters were mailed out on the 20th of February to each titled owner, as we have in the tax records, sent out by first-class mail with the date and information for the hearing. So the purpose of the hearing is for individuals to speak for or against the project. So once we're done, introducing it, we'd open the floor as the public hearing. And again, that's your opportunity to come and speak for or against the project. If you are speaking on the project, we do ask that you clearly state your name and address so everything is recorded properly in the minutes. We don't want to accidentally put somebody else and then there's a problem down the road. So just please make sure you say it clearly. And so the board is aware we did receive 16 written letters of opposition to the project for individuals. They had up until the close of business today to submit those to my office. And so anybody that did submit those already, obviously if you're here, you're welcome to speak again, but your name and address will already be recorded as objecting to the special assessment in here. So if you didn't have anything to add, you don't have to come up, but you obviously are welcome to during the public hearing.
Is it worth giving the names so that people would know?
Yeah, I can. We have Michael and Sheila Needleman and Marlene Casper, Iswa Burns, Anna Sophia Aller, Gary Varnas, Bridget and Zenon Pribula, and Nick Karpowicz, Denise Kenbeek, Marcia Kopitek, and I apologize if I butcher a name, I do my best, Cynthia Jarzembowski, Keith, Craig and Jean Runstadler, Mitchell and Beta Prizwara, Jason Jackson, James Clark, and Mrs. Molly Zapatel. So those are the ones that we received in writing already.
Okay.
And those will, obviously, they'll just go right into the minutes. So, but at this point, we'd be looking for a motion to open the floor for the public hearing.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Mr. Badkins. Is there support?
Support.
All right. Support by Mr. Olgiati. Discussion on opening the public hearing. Hearing none and seeing no public comment, Mr. Witt, will you please take the roll call?
Yes, Mr. Batkins?
Yes.
Mr. Olgiati?
Yes.
Mr. Brado?
Yes.
Ms. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Tominello is excused. Mr. Witt, yes. Mr. Verkest?
Yes. So at this point, the public hearing for this matter is open. So if you care to speak for or against it, we just ask you to approach the podium. If you know that you're going to speak for or against it, we have 2 chairs over there, kind of on-deck chairs. The idea being that as soon as one person stops, we don't all, so that we can all finish sooner. If you know you're going to speak, go ahead and fill those chairs. That way we've got somebody on deck and it makes the process just go a little quicker. Still give everybody a chance to be heard, and we don't have to be here all night.
Good evening, Board. My name is Ken Mulder. My address is 39488 East Archer. I want to begin by thanking the neighbors that contributed their time and effort to get this project to where it is today. And I'd also like to thank the township staff that helped guide us through the SAD process. Residents along the Lakeshore Archer Pardee Canal and the intersection with access to Lake St. Clair and the Black Creek started planning this project over 3 years ago at the end of 2022. After going through the record high water levels in 2019 and 20, We knew that Lake St. Clair was in the natural downward trend, and we wanted to plan for water levels not seen since the early 2000s. There was interest in removing the built-up sediment from the canal back then in the early 2000s, but it lost support as the lake levels rose. During this time, the record high levels also contributed to additional sediment buildup in the canal. We researched the maintenance on the canal and have not been able to find any evidence of any maintenance dredging on this canal for the last 60 years. Based on research done by the residents, we chose to pursue the method of suction dredging rather than mechanical dredging, which unfortunately has many more contractors that could provide the service. The method of suction dredging allows the removal of sediment up to the seawalls and docks without the possibility of causing structural damage, since they are only removing the loose sediment that is built up over time and are not changing the original depth of the waterway. There are much fewer providers for this type of service. Residents have already invested time and money into the sampling and testing of the sediment that is required by Eagle and the Corps of Engineers for the permitting process. These results and any other information pertaining to this project have always been made public on our neighborhood website, Facebook page, and flyers distributed while we were canvassing for the SAD petitions. The residents brought a SAD before the township board in 2024 that we thought would have seen the removal of the sediment in 2025. Unfortunately, the contractor that we had been working with to get the estimates to base the SAD on back then backed out prior to the project going to bid. We believe this to be because the contractor realized he underestimated the amount of material to be removed and subsequently the cost of the project. The project only received one bid and it was considerably higher than the SAD had proposed. These setbacks led us to seek out another contractor for a quote. We were able to find Aquatic Hydraulic Dredging LLC, which just completed a similar project at the Harbor Point condominiums in 2025. With their help, we were able to coordinate a plan that would remove 2 to 3 feet of sediment from the canal in a 2-phase proposal. We were limited by access to a large enough location to hold the sediment until it dries out and can be removed, and the township authorized the use of On Park at the south end of Party Drive for the location of the sediment storage bags after we looked at multiple locations. At this point, we are hopeful that with some expediency, the project can be completed this year. NOAA, their Great Lakes Environmental Research Laboratory, is predicting that Lake St. Clair water levels in 2026 will be 3 to 12 inches lower than at the same times in 2025. While the canals may still be unusable for most of the residents this season, we hope that this project will have a positive impact for the future. If left unmaintained, we expect to see a negative impact on home values due to the canal becoming less navigable each year that passes. Thank you.
James Clark, 32175 Riverdale. Well, unfortunately, I'm being dragged into this again because I'm not on that canal. I'm on the Riverdale Canal on the south side. But for some reason, no one thinks I'm going to benefit from it. I don't want it. I don't need it. I've discussed this last time I was here. And there's a lot of things vague about it. There's nothing saying, there's no elevation numbers saying before or after, verify the works can be done correctly. And I don't see it doing anything to bring the value of my home up as far as where I live. And what is it? There should be at least 3 bids on anything. Anytime you do any kind of proposal, it should be 3 bids to look at. You can't say this whole lake only has one person willing to do that work. So there should be more bids before they go ahead and accept the bid. Make sure we're getting the best price, or whoever, hopefully I'm not in it still, hopefully who wants it can get their bang for their money. And I believe this whole survey should have been redone because the scope of work has changed 100%. The price has gone up 3 times. And a lot of people were upset with the lower price before. Now you're going to say 3 times more. It's a lot of people can't afford that the first time they said. But I can't believe how this was not reevaluated as far as who wanted yes and who wanted no. So that's pretty much all I got, but this is not going to help my property at all, and I wish to be taken off the list again. Thank you.
Hi, good evening, board members. My name is Molly Zapatel. I live at 39115 Lakeshore Drive. I did put an objection in to this particular process, again, kind of piggybacking what the prior individual just mentioned. First, I want to say thank you, Ken, and I know, Chris, you've had a large involvement in this, and I understand you're trying to do the betterment of the community, but I think as a whole, you know, the unfortunate thing is a lot of people bought large boats, right, since the Part A Bridge went down. And now we have these large boats, specifically closer to South River Road, that can't get down the canal or have problems doing so. What I don't quite understand, and I'm not a huge boater, even though I live there and have for maybe 10 years, is the silt moves around, right? When you're driving your boat down the canal, it moves around. So it's really not preventing it not being navigable. It's just basically allowing more dirt and things to mush around in. But I think this particular petition, I don't see the necessity of the increase in property value. Right now, we're at $10,200, right, per property. And that's not even a hard number. And I don't know in the contract if there is a exceed provision. I don't know if the contract's even public knowledge or I can review it. Mr. Verquest, can you answer that, if it's public available prior to signing, or?
So a public hearing is just that.
Okay.
It's not a back and forth. So to the extent that, like in this case, I'm answering your question.
Yes.
I'm not answering that question. So we're going to go through, we'll write notes, but experience tells us that when we engage in a back and forth, sometimes that meeting deteriorates. So we can have a back and forth
Oh, no,
discussion
no, I'm
tomorrow or anytime, but
Sure.
we're not going to engage in
Okay,
that during.
all right. So the concern I have is my seawall. And people have assured me, you know, it's not going to affect the seawall, blah, blah, blah. It's only going down the middle of the thing, and they're only sucking up the silt, which isn't the hard thing that keeps the seawall in. Okay, well, the silt, again, as I previously said, you know, it kind of mooshes around anyway when you're driving your boat down there. But the seawall I have concerns with. Now, I know in the past, from the prior contract, I know there was some issues with the numbers, but I also thought there was issues with the liability aspect. The township's immune of liability for this particular project. I don't know if the township's going to insure third-party beneficiaries to individual homeowners in the event something goes negative. I don't know if that's part of the contract or not. Again, another question, I guess I'll contact you or Mr. Huth in regards to that. But in regards to necessity, I just don't see how it's going to increase my property, $10,200, when we don't even know if there's a cap on it. They could come back and say, oh, goodness, I know there's been erosion tests, but there's some sediment in here that potentially is environmentally hazard. Now we have to go to this other measure. There's nothing definite at this point. It's all an estimate based on your information that you provided to the homeowners. And I just don't see the bidding process as the previous person indicated. You know, I work for the county government, and I can tell you most contracts aren't on dollars, right? They're always exceeding, always asking for more money, hands down. Pretty certain you guys have experienced the same thing on larger projects. This, I consider a fairly large project. But generally, there is a procedure, like an RFP, that you go through and you have people bid. And then you kind of weigh through the bids and see. And I think that shows to just giving the public the transparency that we're going through the process just like every other department does, and ensuring that we're getting the best bet for the homeowners. Right now, I see one company bidding. I don't know if it's big or not. It doesn't have a definite cap on it, and I think that needs to be vetted through as well. And I don't know if the studies show, I mean, I know there was some letter sent to homeowners in the community about some things, but I think it had some valid points. And I think one of the points is, we're at a low water level. There's no question, it's low, right? The marina I keep my boat at, and I don't do it because of the canal, I do it because I choose to. They're having issues with low water levels of getting certain size boats in there. They're not going to dredge, you know, because they can't. I mean, it's you have to go, it's impractical. But long story short is, the water levels will come up. And there's also individuals on our canal that don't have any seawalls. Every year I go down there, there's further erosion. All that stuff is going into the canal and building up and moving as the water goes. It's a natural water flow, right? Water will flow when everything goes up. The water will go up, as you know, in everywhere, and then the stuff will move around. It's part of the course. And I understand that people bought larger boats now, and they have a problem going through the canal because they did that. As opposed to in past years, now granted, water level's gone up and down, and there's been issues in the past, but they'll resolve themselves in a year or two. And that's in addition to what I had already provided in my objection. I just don't see the studies. I don't see anything posted, how my property next year, when I go to sell, is going to appraise $10,000 more because the dredging happened, because I have to pay that as a seller of a special assessment. And I don't see it. I can navigate through that water. I guess further down, it's more problematic, and I understand that. But that's all I have at this point. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Jason Jackson. I live at 32101 Riverdale Street. I oppose this assessment for the following reasons. My home is located on the south side of the Riverdale Canal, as James Clark was here attesting to. Dredging the Archer Lakeshore Canal does not improve the Riverdale Canal and will not benefit my property. Two, there's no special benefit. The proposed project does not provide a direct or unique benefit to my property value that justifies the $10,179 assessment. And the cost of the project is disproportionate to the benefit received. I consulted a lawyer about this, and he cited a case on this. I don't need to read that off, but the gist of it was owners could not be charged an assessment more than an increase in value the improvements would bring to their homes. Speculated increase in market value does not justify the cost assessed per parcel. My property is not likely to increase in value assessed amount. And I request the assessment be reconsidered or eliminated. Thank you.
My name's Christopher Swift. I live at 39620 East Archer here in Harrison Township. Been working on this project kind of firsthand for 3 years. A couple of points that came up, people's concerns or legitimate concerns. We do have, I personally talked to two real estate agents who looked at the history in St. Clair Shores when canals became non-navigable. They lost between 20 and 30% of their home values. That happened. So there's definitely a direct impact on the entire community. There's a house for sale in our canal now. It's been on sale for about 6 months. The homeowners have already bought another house and moved out. They can't get their house sold. People are coming by and doing open houses. They walk out back and they look, and there's, especially on the south end of the canal, everybody has to go through. It's really, really shallow. There appears to be a direct impact on the entire community. It'd be, comparables will be impacted by it for the entire township. The sediment has been tested by independent labs. A bunch of the homeowners donated money, and that was around $7,000 or $8,000 chipped in on that. It was tested. The sediment was taken, Ken probably knows better than I do, but I think every 100 feet or so, a sample all the way down to the hard pack. And it was as clean as any random dirt in the forest. In other words, not that's my technical interpretation of it, but it's perfectly clean. So that's good news. So that should not ever be a factor down the road to increase costs, because that would be a big increase in cost. But it was tested from north end to south end. The other thing is in talking to, I personally talked to, honestly, I've lost track, probably 12, 13 contractors in combination of hard dredging, muck sucking, trying to connect different companies together who specialize in different parts of the process. And not my bailiwick, but very confident. I live there. I try to take care of my property, put in tiebacks and everything. I try to take care of it as much as I can. I care about everybody's value. Every single one of them assured me that removing sediment doesn't change the pressure on the seawalls at all. It's not the hard pack. It's not gonna affect anything. It shouldn't have any future issues because they took out the muck. And I talked to the county. They've been keeping records, this is going back 3 years now. I think they said 1952. So about 75 years, they've been keeping track of permits pulled. There's never been a permit pulled for our canal. So right now we have roughly 3 feet, 3.5 feet of sediment. So, it's building up at a rate of, half an inch a year. So it should last us the rest of our lifetime. Should be a one and done. Spread over, I believe, a 10-year bond, so it should be very affordable and help maintain our values, maintain the navigability of it, and there doesn't appear to be any danger from any chemicals in the sediment. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Ahmed Hamza. I live at 38978 Lakeshore Drive, and I wasn't planning on speaking, but I own 2 real estate companies, and my wife is a broker, and I wanted to double down on what Chris was just mentioning, because I keep a very close eye on the market, and I know a lot of people that are buying and selling in our neighborhood. By the way, I don't live on the canal on Lakeshore Drive. I'm on the lakeside, but everybody that I know, my family knows and hangs out with pretty much every day lives on that canal, and I go up and down the canal more than some people that lives on the canal with my boats and watercrafts. The thing that I want to talk about is our neighborhood is not doing well real estate-wise. The whole market is not, but waterfront properties gets affected more than regular properties, as we all know. And property values are not going up, especially on Lakeshore Drive and on other streets. It doesn't matter what street you're on. The way real estate comp works and appraisals work is that they're going to look at everything in the neighborhood. If your house is on the Venetian Canal, Riverdale Canal, but you're selling it, you will get appraised and comp based on the property values of the recent properties that are sold on the Orchard and Lakeshore Canal, which is going down because of this. Today, Chris gave an example of one house that is not selling because of that. There's another 2 houses that are not selling because of that. And I know people that bought in 2022 and 2023 that will sell their houses for less money today than what they paid for 3 years ago. And one more thing to add, I hit bottom on that canal in my 17-foot center console that my kid drives. I hit bottom in a 22-foot pontoon. It doesn't have to be a big boat. Big boats are not going to go in this springtime. They're not going to make it, period. We took a tune out this week when the ice broke and it's hit the bottom. Just a reality check. If you think the $10,000 assessment on the taxes is not going to appraise your house for that amount, yes, you're right, it's not. Because guess what? Your house is actually going to go down by $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 when you want to sell an $800,000 home down the road because of the comp and how the real estate market works. That's all I wanted to add.
I'm sorry, can you just give me your address again real quick, sir? 38978. Thank you.
Hi, Mike Bulf, 38853 Lakeshore. So I just kind of want to piggyback on the misconception of how this sediment's working. So it's not really moving around. So by the first, say, 10 feet from the seawall out, you could take a stick and drop it in, hit the hard pack and let it go. So it doesn't move, but it'll go through. Like, you don't have to put a ton of pressure, but it doesn't like spread out. And right now, I gave you guys pictures. We have about an inch over that. So let's say the water comes up 6. What boat can you put at your seawall that you can put your prop in and not suck that silt in? And that silt doesn't just move away, it clogs up your motor. Like last year, my rib, little 8-foot, it stalled the motor out, overheated it. So it's more than, we have to get that silt out. It's not moving around. The middle does get pushed out a little bit, and you can see by the way that the ice kind of concaves in, that's from, the bigger boats coming through. But by the, 10 feet out, you can't put a boat on the seawall. I mean, so, I don't know what else to say. If we don't do something, we're not gonna have a canal. I mean, we can sit here and say it's expensive, or we can say the water's gonna come back up, but that silt's going nowhere. And even if we get a 3-foot in 2 years, you're 2 or 3 feet over silt. And you're still sucking that into your motor. So, that's all I got, thanks.
Thank you.
Board members, Mike Barnhart, 38995 Lakeshore. Where to start? Water levels. Best predictions, like they said, it's going to be 6, 8, a foot lower. We're still on a downward cycle. Somebody that hasn't lived out here more than 10 years doesn't realize I've been on this lake my entire life. Go on a downward cycle. At best case scenario predicted is 8 inches lower. That in mind, our canal is one of many canals in Harrison Township. Elm Lane, Sea-Watch, Harbor Points, south and north. We're one. We've only had one contractor, 2 contractors bid on this, trying to get it done. Local companies, Dean's Marine, Huron Point, they're busy. They're closing multi-million-dollar Corps of Engineer jobs, plus seawalls that are backed up and everything. The price that was quoted was right on what it should have been a year ago, and I have out-of-state companies doing the same. I can show them to everyone. They're even higher. They're booked up. The gentleman I spoke with, Jamie, he's doing it right. That's why the numbers were off from before, because the guy didn't know in the first place. The price is going to only go up, just like the roads return. Inconceivable now, right, guys? I mean, it's through the roof. Said we went out on the pontoon the other day. We're digging up muck the whole way out. As far as Jim and being right there at Riverdale, I understand, and it's hard, where's the cutoff? Well, right now, we basically have a water dam. So now the silt and everything coming in with the southwest winds, not going up our canal like it used to. That's how the flows go. Now it's like a dam, and it's going down Riverdale. At the end of the guys I know, it's 5 foot of depth. We went over with the depth sounder. You can actually see it. Price, the bids. It's going to be more if we don't do it now. The depth. One of the things I want to talk about was the seawall is blowing up. Okay, I pulled approved and finished permits from Eagle in the township where people have replaced their seawalls. Mine included from my house to the end. There's 7 of them. Each court Eagles, just like our soil testing has to be every 500 feet apart. I have those addresses. Some of them just put in their seawalls less than 2 years ago. Didn't go to the silt and then go another foot and call it good. So their seawalls aren't going to blow out. They have to go to the hard packed soil, which also determines hard packed soil. So based on getting an average level of 4 feet, we can go down that far. So it's not just going to be a foot. So if the water goes down another foot, we still will have. Based on the hard packed soil, good. Use that. I mean, it takes away the liability. The seawalls that are gone, Nick's going to speak about it. He's right next door to the guy that has a 100-foot lot with 2 foot of beach. It's going to erode if we go 4 foot down. So how do we solve it, right? Why don't the guy take care of his property? Township's not going to take on that liability. Put in a new seawall at 40, 50, 60,000, right? And then assess the guy. They did sandbags when we flooded. Protect multiple houses. It was a low cost, having DPW go there and fill in some sandbags. They don't have right or reason to do it. Mike called the state. Eagle themselves will not force somebody to put in a seawall. In fact, they want to go back to the natural riprap. Like when the township replaced the seawall, we put in a natural rock wall, which you're seeing in other places. Or in a Harbor Point, New Baltimore, they're doing a riprap wall to take care of the vegetation and the algae. Anyway, B&W, I called them. It's $1,000 to put the riprap wall there. Prevents further erosion. Talk with Jamie. We can even excavate that heavy silt sand, put it right there. That's between 500 and 750 cubic yards. That's 500 and 750 cubic yards less. It has to go in a sediment bag and then transport it up to Port Huron. So there's cost savings right there, you guys, by a lot. That pays and takes care of that, prevents further erosion, and that's legal through the Storm Management Drain Act, Michigan. I'm sorry, I can't remember, but I can cite each code if you want, but I'll send it to everybody, so it's something that needs to be done, guys, that's all. What did I miss? Anything, guys? Cover it?
I'm confused here. Are they sucking it out or are they dredging? It's a suction process. And if you think about Bering Sea Gold, those shows where they suck that
My
out.
apologies, hydraulic dredging.
Yep. We're not talking about a machine.
Nick Karpowicz, 38807 Lakeshore Drive. I know what I bought when I moved into these lots. I've experienced this situation more in depth, I would say, than some further down. Until they do something to that seawall, actually put one in, I don't see, for myself, any benefit.
the amount of earth that washes around the corner. My seawall kind of dog legs in towards the road. So thankfully, my whole yard is not disappearing every boat that goes by, but that property next door is. You guys I respect what you're doing. I really do. Though something's put in over there, and I don't know about the riprap thing. I think this was a discussion a long time ago. I'm pretty sure you have to go quite far out with the riprap and kind of graduate it up. Otherwise, the erosion will just go underneath the riprap and continue to erode. I would like to be excluded. I don't want to stop this process for all of you. I don't want to participate. I don't see any benefit to my property. Thank you, and I hope I don't piss you guys off.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Nicholas Maluchnik. I live at 32064 Powers Street. I brought 3 additional letters of opposition today from some of my neighbors that were unable to attend today. I want to touch on something that Chris Swift mentioned regarding the property values. He was arguing that the low water affects the property values. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't, but it was just a handful of years ago where everybody in the neighborhood was sandbagging and everybody had water in their backyards or basements. You could also make the argument that that affects property values negatively too. Bottom line is the water levels are a cyclical thing, okay? It's an inherent risk when you buy property on the water that that's what's going to happen. Water's going to come, water's going to go. Right now, we don't have water, but it will be back. It's a cycle, okay? So property value is kind of irrelevant, okay? It's just the nature of the beast when you live on the water. I kind of don't really have that much of a dog in the fight when it comes to the dredging itself, okay? I don't live on the canal. I live adjacent to the canal. I can understand some of these people's position that live on the Riverdale Canal where it does not affect them. They don't need the dredging, okay? I can understand why they want off, and they make a very valid point for that. My problem is sucking the mud out, sucking the deposits out, and dumping them in Awney Park. I don't know where we get away with doing that. Metals like arsenic, lead, mercury, these are all metals and contaminants that are in the deposits that come out of the dredgings. And they want to dump in a park that the community kids play in. And there's a playground there, okay? How do we get away with dumping these hazardous materials in a park where kids play, the neighborhood kids play? Is that something that's realistic? I mean, there are a whole bunch of empty lots situated on the Lakeshore Archer Canal. Let's use those, okay? If everybody on that canal wants to do the dredging, put them on your own property, not public property, not township property, where the neighborhood kids play. That's ridiculous.
Thank you.
Good evening, all. Jeff Kovacik, 38886 Pardee Street. I just wanted to get a confirmation from the board here. I had put in a letter of protest. You guys didn't read me off of the 16 people that you read off there at the beginning, and I want to make sure that I'm included in that.
You know what, if I didn't, I know I have your letter. I was
I'm
trying to scan through the scans.
The only other thing I got to add, I mean, you guys have my protest letter. You can read through it for yourself. One thing I'm a little confused on here, though, is as far as tonight goes, with this going in front of the board, I did a analysis of the petition itself. I don't think that this should even been brought to this meeting based on the fact that they didn't have the 51% of yes votes even put this thing in front of you guys tonight. I show that in my letter of protest. I'd like for them to, for the board to look that over as well, because personally I think this thing should go back out to a petition again. There were numerous people that didn't have all owners from the properties on the petition. And by my calculations, you guys didn't meet the 51% of footage for a yes vote, or the number of properties. So I just want that added. That's all I have for now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Julia Maluchnik. I live at 32064 Powers Street. My husband just spoke a couple minutes ago. Again, the whole park thing, I don't know how come we weren't involved in some of this. The dredging does not affect us, but we live right there at the park. So I feel like something like that that's taking place, these sandbags being placed at a park that my kids play at, I walk my dogs. None of my neighbors that live on that park were informed that all this is going to be set in our park, that we all have kids to play at. I actually found out about this meeting today. I talked to a couple other families that don't live on our street, but I have one that lives right off of South River. Her son rides his bike over to that park. Somebody that lives at the end of Lakeshore, her son rides his bike over to that park. Another one on Huron Point rides his bike over. They were all playing football at that park. That park gets used every day when it's nice out. And we're going to ruin it by putting sandbags there. And then when they remove these sandbags, how are they removing them? What's going to happen to our roads? So you guys are going to pay 10 grand to have this done. And then, 5 years down the road, we're going to have to pay another 10 grand. And now I'm going to pay 10 grand too. So we have to fix all of our roads because I'm sure the roads aren't perfect, but they're good. They're decent. But after you haul all of that out and these heavy pieces of equipment, our roads are going to crumble like the rest of them in Harrison Township. We all just saw the news. The roads are crap. They're not getting fixed. So why are we going to ruin ours too? Figure out somewhere else to put that crap. I'm sorry, it doesn't belong in a park. Not where kids play. Thank you.
If anyone else thinks they might speak, again, we invite you to the on-deck chair.
Scott Rivard, 38855 East Archer Drive. Again, I'm not against them dredging their canal. Don't really, more power to them if that's what they need to do. Do think the water levels will come back. So you're going to be out for a year. They'll be back the year after that. But anyhow, so I just found out about the sediment getting deposited in Ayun Park as well. And I don't know where that comes from, but was not informed until this evening. And I will vouch for them. There's a dozen kids, maybe more out there every day that it's nice playing now. Nice to hear the kids running around. But we all know there's stuff in that sediment that does not need to be in that park. So I'm going to leave it at that, and that's what I got to say tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Mike Wolf again, 38853. I understand that people have concerns for the sediment bags, but I think they're glossing over the fact that we've had it tested. There was nothing found in it. And, okay, so there was nothing found in it. And then the,
Please, if you wish to speak, we didn't ask you to come up to the podium.
so when these bags, all they're doing is they're dropping water. There will be some sediment that probably comes out, because I'm not a scientist, right? But it's dropping the water. They dry out, they pull them out. I mean, it's a park, I get it, your kids are there, but we also pay for that park with our township money too. So maybe the kids can play on the other side for a little bit while these bags dry out.
Other side of what?
Of the park. I don't know what to tell you. I mean, we need a place to put these bags.
How about the DNR lawn? Hang on.
Okay.
Again, I'm
Yeah,
going to
this
ask,
is- thank
it's a
you.
public hearing.
Thank you.
It's not a back and forth. If anyone has public comment, we ask you to come to the podium. There's folks that are home listening, and the microphone doesn't pick that up, so out of respect for the speaker, if you want to speak, please go to the podium.
Thank you. So again, I know that if we would have had another location, we would have done this. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Clift again, 39260 East Archer. Just to address the options in regards to the bag, they, again, I did a ton of work, talked to a lot of options in order to put the reduced sediment someplace, temporarily white, de-waters is the term. We checked just because there were some questions about it. In the S-curve across from Sundog, did a lot of talk with them, trying to pump it that way. That became impractical. The development at 16 and Jefferson, I talked to them for quite a while. That became impractical. The amount of volume is too big to put on private lots. Well, that's not practical. We even tried using the parking lot for Metro Beach, the park that's not used, but of course, they're resurfacing it this year. Well, that's not practical. It left us was really the only option to get this project done is the park there. My understanding is it's going to be returned to, pristine like it is now. It's not going to be near the playground. It's not going to totally make the whole place unusable. Did review the sediment studies, and again, the testing was, it's as clean as, dirt anywhere. There's no high levels of any risk like you had like in St. Clair Shores that really affected values and everything too. I just wanted to help clarify a couple of those points.
Thank you. Any other public comment?
39415 East Archer, not opposed to the dredging project, I'm just opposed to the way you're doing it. Adam pulled the permit, he's got the samples. The permit is a minor permit. It mandates all the material, because it's contaminated, to be taken off-site. You can't leave it on-site because it's contaminated. You know this. And Ken, I want to know, where do you get the authority to mandate or say that you can use that park? It's not a township park. It's a private park owned by the Huron Point Homeowners Associations. And right now, I've been here, half the people don't want this project, and I live on the other side of the street, and the whole 100% of the west side of East Archer, they don't want this either. They don't want the work on the street, they don't want it at the park. So where do you get the authority to put that in that park anyway? Is there a township ordinance that gives you that authority? You're not answering.
It's not a back and forth. I said that earlier. I'll do my best to answer questions. It's a public hearing. We're hearing.
Okay, well, what is the answer on that question? I mean,
There might be a point in time that we can answer that, but it isn't right now. I'm not going to engage in a back and forth.
all right, well, I don't want to do that either. Then I have one final question. Sure. Gary Roush put in half the walls on that canal. For a long time, he did it. He just slammed them in with a backhoe bucket. So the integrity of the walls, I mean, I don't know. I mean, water holds the wall back as much as some of that slop does. So that's, that's a whole nother case there involved. But I'd like to know where they're going to launch this machine to get it over there. And I'd also like to know when the township is going to have a final on what are they actually doing? How many yards are you taking out? Where are you going to put it? Because at this point, I don't think you're going to put it in that park. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Adam Woodward from 38922 East Archer. I'd have to go along with Barry. This whole process from the start has just been not really open. This is the first time tonight I realized people could sign against this project. The first time, I've never heard that, or write letters to the township. Also, this whole dialogue should have happened way before we're in front of the board. Between the neighbors, there should have been a huge get-together. People on the other side of the park should have a voice. The people on our street, on the other side of the street, should have a voice. But I live on the canal, it needs to be dredged, but I don't think this process has been done.
Thank you.
Joan Malushnik, 38660 Lakeshore Drive. I am nowhere near this, but I do have a concern because I have grandchildren that live across from the park. I don't feel that one company results of the sediment should be taken as God's word, that it is clean as the forest land. I think we should come up with at least two more tests and prove to me that, yes, that sediment is clean to go into that park. I don't trust people. I would love to. And I'm sure that you wouldn't want your kids playing in a park where there's a possibility of poisonous, hazardous materials that could, in 10, 20 years, affect their ability to have children or the ability to live cancer-free. Let's get some more testing done.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Any other public comment? Is there any further public comment? Seeing nor hearing none, I'd be looking for a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll make that motion.
Is there support?
Support.
A motion by Ms. Brown with support by Mr. Brado to close the public hearing at 7:50. Discussion, board members. Hearing nothing and seeing no public comment, Mr. Witt, will you please take the roll call?
Ms. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Brado?
Yes.
Mr. Backens?
Yes.
Mr. Olgiati?
Yes.
Mr. Tominello is excused. Mr. Witt? Yes. Mr. Verkast?
Yes. Thank you, board. Okay, well, I'm going to do the best that I can to answer. I wouldn't say that I claim to have all the answers, but I certainly have some information that I feel like I can share. So I think it's important to understand that, first, this isn't a township project. This isn't a township effort. This is something that the township can facilitate. A special assessment can be imposed by the township, and 20% of the people affected by it can sign a petition opposing it. It stops. This is the kind of project that's probably a little bit more controversial. Sometimes projects are pretty straightforward. We know a majority of people on a street or in a neighborhood want something, we move forward. Other times, especially if it's a costly project or maybe it's controversial, we're going to look for signatures to be collected. The inherent nature of that collection of signatures is specifically not a township effort. It isn't my position, unless I lived on that street, to be involved in the process of establishing an SAD such as this one. But if a majority of the people on the street want the SAD, then it is an obligation for us to move forward to try to do the best that we can. So there is a kind of a, I'm not saying that you need to put yourself in my shoes, but clearly when we're talking about something that's a very tight margin, we recognize that at least at this case, from what we understand, and we'll talk about that later, a simple majority want to move forward. But the difficulty is that some folks don't want to move forward with this, and we're stuck trying to decide. If we are presented with a majority of signatures, but we arbitrarily said, we're not going to do it, I feel like I have to have a pretty good reason not to move forward with a project if a majority of people in a neighborhood want that project. I recognize that some said not everybody's a boater. Some people are positioned in different places on the canal. We see this in roads sometimes. Someone who lives closest to Moon Street Bridge benefits the most because they have to navigate a majority of that canal. Someone who might live close to the Riverdale Part E canal might say, well, I only should pay a fraction because I don't have to go as far. The reality is that's not how SADs work. It's divided up in some equal and fair format. Someone had asked about 3 bids. We've talked to, when I say we, the clerk, myself, we've had multiple meetings with contractors. Ultimately, the decision is that of the people who circulate the petition. In other words, if they say we've found a contractor and we want to use this contractor, we typically do not override their rights unless we believe that something is fraudulent or unrealistic. We have worked with this contractor. The township has a level of confidence that it's a competent contractor. But ultimately, this is the kind of work where there aren't dozens of people that do this. Inversely, when we do a road repaving, typically, if it's a public road, we partner with the county. The county goes through that competitive bidding process. When they do road rebuilds through the subdivision reconstruction program, they might bundle 2 or 3 roads in 3 or 4 townships in Macomb County. They bid that as a large project, and they select that contractor. So while we have gone through a competitive process, we have certainly had times where someone comes to us with a specific contractor that they want to work with. That's what's happened here. Someone had said, why wasn't this project reevaluated? Why weren't signatures collected? We had a previous signature collection process. Because the scope of work changed and because the cost changed, it was no longer valid for this. So this is a completely new signature collection process. So someone had said, is $10,200 a hard number? When we do these, the law says that we can't tell people one number and then turn around and charge a different number. Obviously, you can charge less, right? Obviously, you can come in and say, hey, we thought it was 10, it came out at 9, nothing wrong with that. But if we say, hey, we think it's going to be 10 and it comes in at 12, people say, well, wait a minute, that might have changed my mind in signing the petition. So we typically involve contingency. I don't know on this project if you can speak to what the contingency was.
I can find it.
Okay.
1 second.
But we have historically taken a figure, provided, whether it's through our engineering firm, if it's that kind of a project, whether it's through a contractor. We try to inflate that number to be higher than what we even anticipate it would be, with the understanding that we've got a little wiggle room, but we don't want to give a number and see that project come in greater.
10%, sir.
So the project has 10% on.
Just over $100,000 in contingency.
Okay, so a little over 100,000 for contingency. So the only thing I can promise is it won't come in at the price that we quoted, I guess. It would be incredibly mysterious for it to come to that exact number. But the number that we give to the petition circulators is the number that we have based on engineering or a quotation, and then it's increased by a certain amount to cushion. It's not a back and forth, sir. I'll be happy to meet with you tomorrow and discuss it with you. I can meet with you after the meeting. This meeting isn't for dialogue. We're here doing the business of the township, and I'm going to do my best to answer your questions, but we're not going to engage in a back and forth, or I'm going to clear the room, because it just breaks down. So give me a chance to answer, you know. So the 10-2 is a number that we took from a contractor that we have experience with, we believe is a competent contractor. They utilized the township park to do a project for a condo association, and we had good results with them. Someone asked about liability insurance. That is a part of the.
We work in partnership with our insurance company to give us ideas as to what to require for bonds and insurance coverage limits, so that when we have their contractor, they meet the requirements that make our insurance company comfortable.
Right. So we utilize our insurance carrier, but they ultimately have to provide liability insurance, indemnification for us on this. Dredging affects assessed value. It affects assessed value. It doesn't affect taxable value. The assessor cannot say, since your home was dredged, we're going to increase the value of your home. This is not something that results in an uncapping. This is not the sort of, if you said, hey, I put a 1,000 square foot addition on your home, well, you've clearly altered the value of your home. This isn't one of those things. Repaving a road, dredging a canal does not have an impact on the assessed value. There'll come a time, at some point, when you sell your home, it may have an impact on the sale price of your home because it may increase the value of your home. But at this point, we're not saying, there's no immediate change in the way your home is taxed or assessed. So someone mentioned the hazardous metals in the park a couple times early, a couple times later. We don't regulate that. There is a requirement. There are permits involved in this. So I can't speak to what each of you do, but I'd like to think that plenty of you have, various jobs and you're experts in various fields. I wouldn't want to go to your home and say, or to your place of work and say, well, you're doing that wrong. You need to do it this way. Likewise, I'm not empowered to go to state, federal regulators, and qualified testing agencies and say, you're doing it wrong, or I believe you're engaging in fraud, so I refuse to move forward. I recognize that folks have concerns, but if there was hazardous metal that would prevent this project from moving forward, there are other agencies that regulate that. I'm not in charge of that. We do have to see testing. We do have to make sure that the permit issuers are satisfied, but I'm not empowered to say, I couldn't say to a majority of the people in this case, we're not moving forward because I think the soil's contaminated. If we have test results that say it's not contaminated or it's capable of being used in this fashion and it can be disposed, I have to recognize those state and federal agencies that oversee that. I'm not empowered to override them. Someone had said we don't have 51% of signatures. I got to lean on the clerk because the clerk's office oversees that.
Based on the engineer's review, we met the requirements for that. When we verify signatures, we send it off to our engineer to check the signature, check to make sure the front footage is represented.
Yep. So a couple of things about SADs. The signature process is dictated by footage.
Correct.
Right? So if Mr. Smith has a 100-foot lot and Mr. Jones has a 50-foot lot, The 100-foot lot counts almost as twice as much. Whether we like it or not, that's what the state law says. When we determine whether or not we have a majority, the state law says we have to go by front footage or measure of footage. When it comes to how to divide the costs up, we're supposed to choose a process that's fair or basically equitable. And we recognize that if you have 100 feet of lot or 50 feet of lot, you may not necessarily, someone with 100 feet may not have a boat, and someone with 50 feet may have a boat and another one on a hoist and a jet ski, and they use the canal much more. So we typically go with a per parcel allotment when we go through the split up. But the signatures collected, 51%, that's that goal or that simple majority is a calculated figure. We've been told we've met that standard. Someone had said, how can we use the park? I think another one was the authority to use the park. The park is dedicated. It's the Huron Point homeowners that possess the park. So the plat for your subdivision says specifically it's platted to be known as St. Clair Haven, a subdivision of Harrison Township, and that the streets, alleys, parks, and canals, as shown on said plat, are hereby dedicated to the use of the public. Because of that, it's for that reason that we mow that. We installed the playground equipment. When we were dealing with flooding, we placed sand there because we felt that was a central location for your neighborhood. So the park is a public park. We have paid to maintain it. And so, as such, we believe that we have that position. But let's talk about using the park. We did talk with the contractor. I know one person spoke to that. I spoke with the engineer for the Huron-Clinton Metropolitan Authority about any potential locations on their property where we might place these bags. I was shut down on that. I do know that some of the folks involved in this worked with the folks, as they said, that own the property by the S-curves, the vacant parcel there where some boats are stored. We had talked about the individual lots. There's simply not a location that we could find anywhere that could accommodate this volume. As it is, I think it's a phased project.
It has to happen twice.
Right, so the amount of area needed to position these bags and allow them to dewater is greater than the area slated for Awney Park. So what they did is they said, well, we'll do it in two phases. We'll fill the bags, we'll allow them to dewater, we'll haul them away, and then we'll come back and do a second phase. So I believe the park can be used, and I believe, again, I recognize some people say, hey, I don't like that. I respect that. But we're put in a position where I can't just say, well, some folks don't like it. If it's against the law, if it's a violation of some law, that's one thing. But we can do it. It's not popular for some folks. I respect that. But we did try to look for other locations that could be used. Sure, gotcha, thanks. Will it ruin the park? Will it ruin the roads? Again, there's agencies that outside of the township that are in charge of those questions. So will it ruin the park? We have no reason to believe that. Part of the contract is restoration. We were confident enough that we allowed our own parking lot to be used for a neighboring property at a township park. Will it ruin the roads? Again, not a decision that we can make. Macomb County Department of Roads basically takes the position that whatever a weight limit is for a road, it's a weight limit for every road. They don't say, bridges can have sometimes specialized weight limits, but when construction occurs and heavy trucks come up and down a street and people say, I want those people ticketed, if the truck is a legally operating truck, if it's under whatever weight limits that the state dictates, no road is closed to truck access. So that's not something we can regulate. Someone had said they didn't know there was an opportunity to sign against the project. There really isn't an opportunity to sign against the project. When a petition is circulated, you either sign it or you don't. There is no opposing process. If you're in the affected area, if you're a part of the SAD and you're opposed to the SAD, so for example, I know there's a few property owners here that say, I don't see where I have a benefit. or I think I shouldn't be included. I'll use a hypothetical example. If accidentally somehow we included a parcel ID number and it was someone on Venetian, I think we could all agree it would be hard to argue that there's any benefit to somebody that lives on Venetian for this project. It's for that reason that we hold public hearings per state law to make sure everybody has a chance to come forward, to be heard, and to object for what they might see. Shouldn't we use more than one company to test the sediment? Again, state law tells us what those requirements are and what those things are that need to be done. The companies that do that testing aren't inherently, I just don't see where they would want to intentionally lie and lose that state certification over this project. They don't have a horse in this race. It's an independent third party. In order for them to be able to test, they have to be qualified by the state. That's not something I oversee, and I don't think it's realistic or valid for me to just arbitrarily discount somebody who's testing the soil just because I feel like it. If they're regulated by the state, they're authorized to do the work, and they come back and they give us a report that allows the work to move forward, I don't make that decision. State and federal agencies do make that decision. So those were the notes that I had, with the exception of a couple more. And
I just had a couple generic, one other question that was asked was about, is the contract public? At this point, there is not a contract with the service provider. They have a proposal to us. We wouldn't sign a contract until we're moved forward with the project, and once we do, that is something that would come before this board. Everything we do is public. It is reviewable. It's available to anybody.
I guess at the risk of being cynical, it would be a lot easier for me to just say no. It would be less work on my part. We're only moving forward with this because we genuinely believe, although it's a small margin, a majority of the people that are affected by this are in support of it, and we do believe that it is a benefit to everybody on that canal, whether you're a boater or not. There's some varying things. There was a discussion about 3 particular parcels that are included in this assessment, or in this group, if you will, that are on the south side of, or I guess south side of the canal, or on Riverdale. Right. Yep.
Yeah, on the north side of Riverdale, south side of the canal, right?
Yeah, yep. So they live, right. And I don't know if you had read off the addresses, names, whatever.
Yeah, it's 32175 Riverdale, 32127 Riverdale, and 32101.
So myself, as one board member, we talked about this probably 2 years ago, the last time we did this. I was opposed then, and I said I would only be willing to move forward with this if those were removed. I don't believe there's an immediate benefit, and I still feel that way. I believe the way that water circulates through those canals with the hydraulic movement of water from Venetian coming from the river, with the hydraulic movement of the Black Creek flowing that could sometimes clean that canal out. My understanding is that the sediment that might build up there is a fraction, it just simply stated, not related to this. I would be in favor of moving forward with this with those 3 properties removed, with the understanding that if at some point later, after this work is done, if someone can prove to me that those are necessary, and someone wants to talk about a special SAD. In other words, I would much rather remove those 3 properties based on what I understand about that canal and also being a lifelong resident, as opposed to including them and questioning whether or not the benefit for those 3 homes is there. Yeah. That's one board member's opinion, and I think we heard from 2 people. I don't know what the third.
Yeah, I know we heard from 2 of the 3 residents.
Yeah, but I'm saying in terms of a response to the statement, I agree. If I lived where you live, I wouldn't want to be a part of this assessment either. And so there's a point I get to where you say, well, if I don't think it's fair, it's kind of a golden rule thing. If I lived there, I wouldn't want to be included. Prove to me otherwise. I don't have enough proof to see that. So, and clearly, if other board members agree with me and we were to move forward with this, that would only, I'm assuming those 3 individuals didn't sign the petition in favor, so it would only increase. It basically would take out 3 less people who had already not signed it, which would only increase that majority, even though if it were slightly. I don't know if there's other comments from board members.
I agree with that assessment of those, for those three homes. I think the board had that discussion 2 years ago, and I feel like the underlying arguments for that still exist today.
I have a question about that. I wasn't part of that conversation because I wasn't on the board at that time. I have the map up right now and I'm looking, why is it only 3? Could you maybe explain that to me a little bit?
Yep. So a couple, so let me say this. First of all, the properties that were included, again, were not a decision that the township made. So people who go out and want to circulate petitions say, here's the homes we want to include. Some of these things are black and white. If you live on a dead-end road and there's homes on either side and you're going to repave the road, it would be hard to say that anyone is excluded, right? But I'm going to pause for a minute and come over and kind of point these out. So it's 3 homes right here,
Okay.
at that mouth.
Yep.
1, 2, 3.
Okay.
And the argument is that this canal gets a certain amount of circulation. You can see the coloration.
Sure.
Right? This gets fed from the river, this gets fed from the Black Creek, and obviously when lake levels go up, wind changes, I mean, you can see it go up and down 6 inches. So this canal flows and
Why
keeps that sediment out.
Are
They
these-
didn't, so the thing is the circulators chose, they concluded these homes. They chose to include these 3. I disagree with that. They didn't include these. They didn't include any of these. They didn't include these people. So they chose these 3, and I'm saying I don't believe they should be.
So nobody on Riverdale is included in it.
There would be no Riverdale addresses then included. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Okay.
Yeah, and I obviously I don't, when the circulators are going out here, they when they did their examination, they saw some sandbars, some shoaling from the mouth in there, and that's why I think their intention was, like, hey, they were doing some work there, but the benefit, I don't know if it ties as clearly.
I don't think it's apples and apples.
Yeah.
And there's nothing precluding the individual doing the work, the people that oversee this project can say, hey, can you scoot around the corner and scoop up a little soil there? But I feel like the volume there, if there was some to be removed, is a fraction of what we're talking about for the rest of that canal. So that's my position on that. So if we were to contemplate moving forward with this project, are we empowered at this point to move forward without those 3, or is this something that we would want to table and re-examine at a future meeting? And that might even be a Mr. Huth question.
I know when we did it last time, we
moved forward.
We moved forward with the understanding that the action tonight, basically, that we would take to move the project forward is adopting our next resolution to direct my office to prepare the final roll. And so as part of that resolution, we can say excluding those 3 parcels on Riverdale and, direct the clerk to create that roll minus those 3 as part of that resolution number 3 in the preparation of the final roll.
And we heard from 2 of the homeowners. Did we receive a letter from the 3rd? Do you know?
I
Metcalf?
We did not receive anything from them.
Okay.
As far as I can tell, but that doesn't mean.
Yeah, but also they weren't one of the signers of the petition.
Correct. They did not sign in favor, and I do not believe we had a letter from them.
Okay.
Adam, question for you.
Yes, sir.
If we exclude those 3 properties, is that going to affect the square footage or the frontage or the percentage of signatures?
So it would increase the percentage of signatures because you're removing over 200 of footage, just based on the size of those lots. As far as the amount removed, ultimately that's a decision we'd have to work through with the contractor because there's nothing that precludes them, as Ken was saying, from going out and doing a sandbar that's right at the mouth of that canal, regardless of whether or not they're in it. It's within the permitted area, they can do that work. But so ultimately, we'd work with the contractor based on need and that kind of stuff. And would it impact cost? Yeah, I mean, yes, it changes the cost based on, having 3 less properties sharing in across the board. And so, it's dependent on if there's less material at that point. So the answer is maybe.
On a $1.3 million project,
it's probably
not really throwing it out of whack.
Yeah, it's probably not crazy. It's $30,000, and it might, within contingency, it could just be a complete wash. Never noticed anything.
So really, at this point, our options, we've closed the public hearing, so our next item, there is no action for item D1, but our next items would be D2 and D3, which is adopting the resolution and moving forward with the process. So this board's options are basically to table D2 and D3 or to move forward and hear D2 and D3. I can't speak for the rest of the board, but I know that Mr. Witt and myself believe that we should omit these three parcels if we were to consider D2 and D3. So at this time, our next agenda item is item D2, which is adoption of the resolution number 3.
Yeah, and as I just said, the resolution number 3 simply directs my office to work with assessing to prepare the final roll based on what this board defines as the bounds of the special assessment district.
While I recognize, and as I said earlier, I understand that there's folks that are opposed and there's folks that are in support. But I can't just doubt test results. I can't ignore the percentages. I do believe there is value. This isn't the first dredging project that the township has contemplated. We've done these, for the majority of the time I've been supervisor, we've seen some higher water levels, but in the beginning of my term, I know we did an SAD. Sunnybrook, yep. I know that previously, prior to me being on the board, I think Venice Shores went through and did dredging. So this isn't unprecedented. It's unprecedented in the last dozen years just because of water levels. So.
And I will say the Sunnybrook project was a hydraulic
same process.
Dredging, same process.
Very similar.
And we didn't run into any issues with seawalls or anything else like that.
You know what, if we move forward on the next agenda item, we'll open up the floor for public comment, and I'd prefer, yeah. And again, to be honest with you, I would love it. What experience tells me is when we get into a back and forth, people start shouting and we deteriorate as humans. Yeah. So,
I guess I got a question or two. Mr. Witt, did you mention, or did somebody mention, if there was 20%?
The 20% against?
That,
yeah.
Is it filed a letter or?
No. So the special assessment law says the township board is empowered to create a special assessment district. So if we without signatures, we can go forward with it if we feel that's the case. So if we started a process where we're going forward with it, 20% of the residents could sign a petition to stop us.
Okay.
With projects like this, which I'm going to call optional, that are resident instigated, we require them to have the signatures in favor up front, which precludes us from going down a path and then finding out that 20% are against it.
Right.
We have to go and chase signatures.
So let's say we did move forward without any signatures and 20% stopped it. The project stops until a simple majority signs a resolution, or a petition in favor of the project. So right up front, we just say, listen, we're not touching this, but if you bring us a majority of signatures, we'll move forward. We do say, in order to make sure it works, the clerk's office says, here's the petition, here's some assistance, here's some guidance, right? If the circulators felt that 25% contingency is what they should have, and they came to us and said, that's what we want, okay, we'll put that down. If there was a huge amount of variability, if someone came and said, we got a contractor who said he'll do the entire canal for 10 grand, we're probably going to say, no, we're uncomfortable with that. But if it seems like the information they bring us, and we have been working with these folks for a couple of years, it seems like it's logical. If we have input from the contractor, we help to prepare that petition, but we do not participate in the signature collection process because unless I live there, I really don't have a say, right?
Okay, and then right now, Lake St. Clair's elevation's 575.6 feet. What is the soot going to be taken down to? Do we have that elevation? I see that it says 2 to 3 feet, and that foot is a lot for a boat. So what is the elevation of the soot going to be?
I don't know that they gave us a final bottom elevation, and I think a part of that is this is one of those things where it's a function of removing sediment. It's a function of them sucking to a certain level, removing that and hauling it away. I don't know that the contract is typically identifying a specific dimension or depth because the depth is relative to, right? Like, in other words,
when this canal was dug 75 years ago, whatever it was, they dug it to a certain level. This canal, as far as anybody's been able to tell, has never been mechanically adjusted. So what this would be doing is basically vacuuming any suspended solids until they get to that point. So it's not disturbing anything that's what we would consider hard pan. So we're not so much as measuring to a depth per se. It's, a material volume
sediment.
removed.
So this is a 2-year process?
It depends,
Two-season
it's a
process?
two-step process because of the dewatering requirements and the space requirements for the bag. So, in an ideal world, for this project, they would have liked to have probably be doing it within the next couple weeks. Probably not gonna happen, just from a.
Definitely cannot happen.
Yeah, so it'll probably be after the boating season, based on the schedule of the contractor for the first phase, and if we have good weather, it's dry, stuff can dewater quickly, he might be able to go right back in, move material off, go again, and finish the job. It's something we'll have to work out with him from a timing standpoint.
There's also, there's a certain time of the spring season when, based on fish spawning, they can't do work like this. So the thought would be that obviously, if we're moving forward, this is predicated on the assumption that we're moving forward with the project. We would want things in order and sufficient time in advance of the contractor doing the work so that they can plan for this. Right now, this contractor doesn't know if this project is going to happen. The sooner that we move forward, assuming that that's the will, the better that the contractor can plan for a project or not try to bid another project and put it in front of this. This is a pretty substantial project, right? So, you don't want to say, hey, we finally got it, can you start tomorrow? We want to say, hey, we had our hearings done in the spring, and, as soon as the weather allows and the conditions allow, you can begin that process, try to dewater as much as possible, and get both phases in so that the 2027 boating season would be a different experience.
I think the dewatering on Harbor Point took approximately 3.5 to 4 months before it was all. I think it was
Yeah.
approximately.
Yeah, there was a delay because of trucking. So I know that removing that material happened probably about a month later than they wanted, so, but yeah, I agree. It takes some time.
This is quite a bit more volume, obviously, too.
Yep.
Yeah, and part of the project too, when they're doing the they have a binder that they add to.
Polymer.
That mixes with the material to lock in any solids, and what runs off is supposed to be just the water.
Yeah, so what it does is it's kind of a coagulant, if you will, that makes the smaller particles stick together, make the particles larger so that less of those particles come out of the bag. You retain the sediment, you're not running that out, and all you're losing is the water. And the larger the particles of material, the quicker it dewaters and the quicker they can haul it away.
Yeah.
Again, not something we decide, not something we regulate, but if anybody had seen the project while it was going on at Waterfront Park, between the sediment bags and the bathhouse, there was almost like a little, maybe 8-inch deep bathtub that they had made, a little temporary, where they're testing the ratio as they're adding that polymer in, because there's a sweet spot where you don't want too much or too little. So, it's a refined process. We're not doing something new or unheard of before.
And again,
When we open up the floor, we'll open it up for.
Mr. Backins, you had.
Yeah, no, it's not. I'm not going to engage in a back and forth, but I will open up the floor, sir. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not going to engage, sir. I don't want to ask you to leave. Honest to God, I'll give you a chance. We're going to open up the floor in about 5 minutes.
And Mr. Backins, when the contractor did put their estimate together, they said the max depth in the center, based on water levels in 25, so again, they change, was a max depth of 6.5 feet. So that was based on his evaluation.
Okay. So just one last thing. We received a letter today, I believe, from somebody opposing this. Out of the 131 projects, they came up with totally different numbers of yeses and nos. Was this gentleman? I'm not even going to try and say the last name because it was the one that we received today.
I think it was Kovacic?
Yes, I'm sorry. I don't want to butcher that name.
Yeah, they had been up
What-
earlier,
what-
so a fellow might have left.
We have 51%
Yes.
approved signatures.
Yeah, more if we remove those 3 parcels, so.
So I believe the testing is accurate, but has anyone looked at the DNR site or barges? Has anyone considered those options?
They are options. They just increase the cost significantly
Okay.
to where the project becomes more difficult to approve.
Yep, pretty.
I just wanted to air that out there.
And it's just,
Yeah.
it's because of the, it's different than a mechanical dredge, so it's a
Sure.
little bit different process. And they
Adam,
did-
how did the gentleman who wrote the letter to us, Mr. Kovacic, how did he get such different numbers than the numbers that we had originally looked at?
You'd have to ask him, I
don't know.
guess.
Yeah, sorry.
He's not here, obviously, but I just.
Yeah, he was here earlier and he left, I believe.
I have a question about the letter that we received as well. And with the SAD rules, do you have to have both signatures of owners or just one for a yes?
You do have to have both people based on what the title is.
Based on the title?
Yep.
And we reviewed that based on the title and the yeses that,
Yep.
okay.
Yeah, this isn't, to be fair, from a SAD process, from a collecting signatures, reviewing signatures, looking at records to see, that part of the process is not new. We do a couple, maybe 1 or 2 every year, as long as, going back at least a dozen years.
And I will say, you can ask the people that were in charge of the circulation. We beat them up on signatures when they came back and brought us, even if it was a spouse that was departed, we said, hey, can we get a copy of the obituary? These are the things that we do normally for this.
Thank you.
How many SADs on canals can we apply for per year?
These are a zillion. Yeah, because there is no matching money coming in on this. So if everybody in Harrison Township wanted to do their canal, obviously it's highly unlikely, but we're not restricting who can do what on that. When it comes to road repaving, where the county says we're going to provide some form of a match, they dictate a limit. All right? I can't see a reason that we couldn't move forward to D2, which would open up the floor for public comment. I know there's some residents that want to speak.
Yeah.
So D2 is your,
Yeah, as I said, the resolution number 3, which directs my office to prepare the roll, or simply a list of who will pay and how much. And so that would be, ultimately, final assessed cost is based on actual construction and related cost. And as the supervisor said, there is a cap within the special assessment law that which we're not allowed to exceed based on the estimate. We always do feel like we include enough contingency and other, estimates where we haven't run into an issue where we've exceeded that cost yet. So, the total estimated cost is $1,333,547.03 at this point. At 10,000 and change per lot, but that number would change for the per lot cost if we subtract it.
if we remove 3 lots, right? Okay. Is there a motion to adopt resolution number 3? I guess I would ask, is there based on, and I haven't heard from everybody, but I think the suggestion would be to adopt resolution number 3 with the removal of 3 particular parcels that the motion should reflect, but I guess, and I'm suggesting that's the way I feel. I didn't hear any feedback from trustees with a different feeling, but.
Are you making a motion?
No, I'm not making a motion. I'm asking for a motion to adopt resolution number 3, removing the 3 parcels that Mr. Witt identified from the roll.
Are you looking for support?
I'm looking for a motion.
Oh, I'll make that motion.
Okay. Is there support?
I will support.
Okay, we've got a motion by Mr. Brado, with support by Ms. Brown, to adopt resolution number 3 for the Archer, Lakeshore, and Pardee Canal sediment and aquatic weeds removal SAD, removing.
There's only 3 on Riverdale, right?
Yeah, it's the 32175
Riverdale
Riverdale, 32127 Riverdale, and 32101 Riverdale.
I just feel like it should be clearly
I
stated.
will have those.
You'll put that in.
I will have the parcel ID numbers in there so we
Excellent.
don't lack any clarity.
Okay, discussion board, we had a fair amount. At this time, we'll open the floor for public comment. Anybody who wishes to comment on the motion?
I'd like to appreciate everyone for considering taking this off, but one concern that no one really talked about is swimming, when all this is being done. A lot of kids swim in that canal, and this stuff's floating around. I mean, Metro Beach, the wind shifts one day, they close it because of the E. coli. So I don't know what's going to come out of this, but you might want to, I don't know how you're going to contain it for swimming in the canals. A lot of people swim back by Metro, and this water is going to flow right through there. So just letting you know, that's all.
Okay, thank you. Any other public comment? Yeah.
So the gentleman that took care of the Jefferson condos, he did business with this, he was the one that did business with this dredging company. He said they were fantastic. But he did say that he wouldn't even know what the price was until after they removed the silt. So the people getting signatures for this project have been telling people it's going to be a certain amount. And then they're saying what the price, it started at $2,800, then it was $3,300, then it was $5,500, now it's up to $10,200. But the gentleman who was running the project over on Jefferson said they were a great company, they did what they said they were going to do, but they didn't even know the price until they removed the silt. Does anybody here know how much that ended up being? Also, after I read about hydraulic dredging, that it is the way to go, but this company here is on the higher end, as if it's moving boulders and very difficult material. The price seems a little high. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Any other public comment?
Ken Mulder, 39488 East Archer. When the company that we got the quote from did come out, they took additional samples. They needed those samples throughout the canal to test against the polymer that you spoke about. So they took their own samples that affected the quote because they had to determine the density of the sediment being removed and then the polymer that would work best with it. So they have done additional testing throughout the entire canal to figure out the depth of material that they're going to be removing. They went not only down the center but side to side to test to get an average. And that's where they came to 2 to 3 feet. Again, they were not basing this on like mechanical dredging where you set a height that you're going to. Where they're just going to dig to that depth. Their goal is to remove the accumulated sediment, just getting down to the original hard pan. The other thing was I wanted to mention when this was brought last time when we collected signatures back in, I believe it was 2023 or 24, and the Riverdale Powers residents were also included. We had intended to dredge from the Lakeshore Bridge all the way to the Venetian Canal, and there was enough people in that area that said they didn't want to be included. Everyone on Riverdale and Powers was removed. The intent of this is still to dredge from the Lakeshore Bridge to the old Pardee Bridge, which is why when we had gone in, we showed the area being dredged, and that's why the 3 houses on Riverdale were included because we're doing the stretch in front of those 3 houses was supposed to be included in the dredging. So this information on why those 3 were included. Thank you.
Go ahead to the podium. Yep. And again, there's folks that are at home, folks that might have said, hey, I couldn't make tonight's meeting, and it's the reason why we try to make sure we have folks at the podium.
So I have a question for Ken. Ken's been running this, and he's trying his best to get this done. I live on the canal. The canal needs to be dredged, obviously. Are there better options out there? I don't know. Can we use the county park over on the other side of the bridge on Lakeshore? I don't know either. So
We don't own
I'm just trying to have a dialogue with the people running this. So how much far over on price or under was the gentleman, do you know, that did the Jefferson?
I can give you a number approximately.
Yeah.
If I'm not
Yeah,
mistaken.
but again, Dean, we just don't want to get into a back and forth. We can add,
All right.
Mr. Olgiati lives there, so maybe he can speak to that after we close public comment.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Mike Barnhart, 38995 Lakeshore. And come on, Adam, You've been out here, man, from the beginning. We've been doing this for 4 years. It wasn't just these two guys, man. It's this neighborhood. I applaud you guys. I applaud you guys for doing the research and stuff. By removing these three guys, we increase our frontage. We go from 51% probably close to 60. But anyway, that's a good thing. This guy's gonna do it right. I wouldn't stand behind it. I was here a year ago bidding on it. I didn't want the job. I want to get it done. I called Jamie. We'll help him pump hose. We'll do whatever we have to do to get this thing done, guys. We looked at all our alternatives. Looked everywhere. You can't just go pump it at DNR or the state. Man, you know how much regulation, red tape, it's impossible. So thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Any other public comment?
Molly Zepatel, 39115 Lakeshore Drive. It just seems that from tonight's proceedings that Mr. Verkest, you kind of basically rubber stamped this. And I have a little concern when you were going to provide a number as to the other project and you shut them down. I just want to know exactly what we're dealing with here. And to me, it seems like you shut them down probably because it exceeded the contractual aspect of what you initially contracted for. And that's the only concern I have in terms of, it seems to me that I know people have done their due diligence in regards to this. I just don't want to get continued. I understand there's a 10% clause based on what somebody said. But again, why did you just shut him down to provide a number? Why? Transparency.
Thank you.
I have one more question. There's a gentleman down the street that has also been getting signatures. He says that if they get to over the 51%, they were asking me to sign up to get frontage. He says after that, then it goes off for rebid. Is this going to go off for another rebid? He said that's the next part of the process. And I don't understand why they need more frontage if they got the 51% signatures. I thought that was strange that they were asking me, and they're asking another person to sign up for this. And honestly, I live on that canal. I would have signed up a long time ago, but the process from the start has not been, it doesn't seem like it's on the up and up. That's my only complaint.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment? Any further public comment? Hearing none, we'll close the floor for public comment and we'll move back to board comment. I'm going to do my best, maybe not necessarily in order. Someone mentioned something about rebidding, so let's talk about that. There are times when we establish an SAD. Let me back up. In order to circulate a petition, you have to have a price. In order to have the price, you have to have something to base that on. In some cases, so let's say, for example, we've had private road SADs. So there are roads in Harrison Township that are not county roads. They were never dedicated, and instead they're private roads. So we don't have the benefit of the county to go out and do that. So we typically get an engineer's estimate when we're at that petition circulating phase. Even when we do county roads, the county says we're going to come out with a grant program in the fall of each year, but they're not going to actually bid the work until the spring. And they say if you need 50%, and in order to do that, you've got to show us that you have a source of the 50%. So we have typically done SADs. I don't really know what the bid is going to be in the spring when someone is asking for petitions in September. So we use our engineering firm. MDOT has a kind of like an online database as jobs are bid. The bids are loaded in there, and they kind of have almost like a spreadsheet. These are unit prices, for example. So it says how much to remove 4 inches of asphalt per square yard, how much to haul this much dirt, et cetera, et cetera. So they look at what the scope of work is, what those volumes are, and they use those numbers, and then we add a contingency. Similarly, we have an estimate, we have a bid from this contractor, but we're doing our best to guess what that is. So sometimes when we're circulating a petition, we have less information. I believe that for a job of this size, because it is a public job, and we're going to talk about the difference between public and private, doing a public job and going through an SAD isn't something where you say, hey, I'll just remove what I can and I'll tell you what it is later, because you tell us a number up front and we've got to be within that number for this project. So the question about rebidding, that could be, this contractor could come back and say, you know what, the federal government changed the rules and now I need $1.8 million. We'd have to tell them either stick within the price, or we've got to go through the circulation process all over again because we simply can't award a project for a greater amount than what we've put forward. So it's a chicken egg thing. I wish I could see.
like that literally happened to us on this project. We did signatures on this project in 2023. We got bids in 2024, and we had a price estimate of just under or around $300,000. And that's what we went with. That's what the circulators went with their petitions. And then the bid came back at close to $500,000. And we said, nope, it's outside. We can't do it.
Right. The flip side is you don't want to say, well, let's throw a 50% contingency. We'll be safe, but the number scares folks away. So it is a balancing act, but nothing is guaranteed. There are laws from the state of Michigan that regulate what we do. So we cannot move forward with this project if at some point we have reason to believe that the cost exceeds the numbers that we advertised. The one resident said, why did I shut Dean down? I don't in any way want to shut Dean down. The problem is meetings like this can become very contentious when they're back and forth. Could you imagine practicing in a court of law where you're just chatting with the judge freely and people are yelling from the audience? It deteriorates fast. So my role as supervisor is to maintain control of the meeting. I chair the meeting. And I know Dean wants to answer, and he'll answer in a minute, but when we engage in that back and forth, experience has taught us that a lot of times, the majority of folks are cool, but a lot of times folks get excited, they get worked up, they're shouting back and forth, it changes the whole tone of the meeting, and once you lose control of the meeting, the last thing I want to do is clear the meeting because people are unruly. So the way to stop that is to prevent a back and forth. You can talk to any one of us ad nauseum any other time than during this meeting. This meeting is held a certain way. We're in a fishbowl. We're doing the work of the people, and you get to observe us. We open up the floor liberally, but we're not going to engage in a back and forth. And I merely stopped Mr. Olgiati from engaging in that because that's the first step toward losing control of a meeting. After 16 years, that's just the way it is. So no means by shutting him down. I'm also not rubber stamping this. This is the will of 51% of the people. If they want to move forward, I think I'd be hard-pressed not to rubber stamp it because I can't just arbitrarily say I don't like it and I'm not going to move forward. We sometimes make modifications, but if we say you need to collect the signatures, I'm not going to go to these folks and say you collect the signatures and maybe we'll do it, maybe we won't. There's an understanding that as long as everything is in order and we've met the laws of the state and the federal government and the majority of the people want to do it, I absolutely am going to rubber stamp it because that's the will of a majority of the people. And I don't think I should any of us should be empowered to overlook that. Why not the other park? I'm not sure of the park, but I'm guessing that we're talking about the park that would be south of Riverdale. That's not a park. That's road right-of-way, and the county would have to oversee that. And based on our recent workings with the county, I don't think that's ever going to happen. They're just going to say no. Simply stated, they're not local. There's no skin in the game for them. This is a scenario where the township has the park. We've maintained the park. We've made improvements to the park. We've planted trees in the park. When we put out sand, when we were sandbagging, we cleaned it up when we were done. I mean, we're going to do the best that we can to try to accommodate the needs. Doing this there probably is the lowest cost location to put the sediment, which ultimately that's a driving factor for us. If a majority of folks want to do it, I don't want to artificially make it more expensive than it needs to. Someone also mentioned about swimming. Again, not something that we regulate. The good news is this project is likely to be done in the fall. You know, I remember as a kid growing up on a canal, sometimes you were so excited to go swimming in the springtime. You were in there before it was a little too cold, but by the time fall rolls around, you know, it sort of dies off. But again, it's not something that the township regulates. There are agencies that decide whether there needs to be silt curtains, whatever needs to be in place. That's something we don't regulate. But the question was asked, private versus public, a little different because they could say a relationship between a contractor and a private entity could say, well, we think it's in this range, and they might say, well, we've got this budget. You know, keep going until we get to this budget, right? They could say, hey, we want to do it that way. So with that, Mr. Olgiati, maybe you can speak to that.
We never went through the SAD process. We did it privately. We contracted, we worked within the township with Ken to let them know exactly what was being done, but we never went through an SAD like you folks did. the cost on our property, if you've come by Harbor Point before, you can see that little canal coming in. We did not do the marina, we only did the cut in. And if I'm not mistaken, don't hold me to this, but I'm thinking it was right around $80,000 for that little piece of, that little cut coming in. Now, we had boats that were 42, 45-foot boats that could not get into that channel for probably 2 years. They had to put their boats in marinas. They are able to access that channel now. We got about 7 foot in that channel, 7 to 8 foot in that channel right now. So they're very, very happy with the results of this company that did the work.
All right.
They did a great job, too.
They did a very, very nice job.
Yes.
And they cleaned up very, very well, and we had no issues with it whatsoever. When I dropped my sunglasses in the marina, and I had to have that scuba diver guy come out, and he literally had to put his arm down almost through 5 foot of silt in our marina to get to my sunglasses. So, I mean, it's a massive, massive, massive problem. There's no doubt. And, you know, we decided as a group, if we wanted to maintain our property values on our units, that we needed to do this particular this particular project. It's not anything anybody really wanted to do. In a perfect situation, we didn't want to have to do that, but we knew to be able to maintain our property values, it had to be done.
Kind of question about.
We're going to go back to another amendment.
It's just a very quick.
No, I hear you. I don't know how many times I can say it. No, we're not.
I have 3.
Sir, I'm going to ask you to
I
leave.
have-
Please sit down.
I have 3 parcels.
Please, sir, sit down. I'm sorry. I don't want to get here. I'm going to give you a chance in 5 minutes to speak. I just said it. Okay, we've got a motion. Is there a further board comment? We've got a,
Is this contractor bonded? Will there be a performance bond on this work?
Normally, we require that for public projects.
So the answer is yes?
Yeah.
yeah.
And we have 51% certified signatures or more.
We'll have over that with, additional with the removal of these 3 parcels.
Okay, thank you.
And we have a 10%
Contingency.
contingency.
In the budget, yes.
Thank you.
All right. Any other discussion? Hearing none, we've got a motion
By Mr. Brado, supported by Ms. Brown.
by Mr. Brown, supported by Ms. Brown, to adopt the resolution excluding the 3 parcels. Mr. Witt, will you please take the roll call?
Mr. Brado?
Yes.
Ms. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Backen?
Yes.
Mr. Olgiati?
Yes.
Mr. Tominello is excused. Mr. Witt? Yes. Mr. Verkest?
Yes. All right. Next is D3, which is resolution number 4. Mr. Witt?
Yeah, give me 1 second here. Resolution number 4, which is before us tonight, would set the date for our second public hearing for the purpose of reviewing the role that the board just directed me to prepare. Similar to tonight's meeting, the resolution requires us to mail as well as notice in the paper, so we'll do that, subject to the board's direction. Then we'd be looking at setting that meeting for our April 13th meeting. That's the quickest we could really get it done, given our noticing requirements for the paper.
Okay, so we've got a recommended motion to adopt resolution number 4 for these canals, which sets that second public hearing date. Is there a motion to adopt resolution number 4?
I'll make that motion.
All right, is there support? All right. We got a motion by Ms. Brown with support by Mr. Olgiati to adopt resolution number 4. Discussion, board members? Hearing none, we'll open up the floor for public comment.
So this is my last question. So in the beginning, I have 3 parcels, but they're all on one tax bill. Initially, I was told I was going to charge 3 times at $2,800, then $3,300, then $5,500, now $10,200. And this last time around, they're telling me I'm only going to get charged once as long as my tax bill is all consolidated. Is that correct?
This one, I'm going to take an exception. Can you give me your address?
I have it right here.
Oh, you have it?
Yeah, you have 130 feet that are combined as one parcel, so
Sure.
you're going to receive one bill.
One bill.
Yes.
So the key here, kind of an explanation out of respect for you, parcel and lot, when this was laid out, hundreds of 50-foot lots were established, right? So let's say Mr. Smith bought 2 lots, lot number 60 and lot number 61, and they combined them. That's 2 lots, but 1 parcel. So what you have is only 1 parcel.
Okay.
You might have more than 1 lot, but you have 1 parcel. One
So-
parcel ID, 1 tax bill, 1 charge.
So after if this project goes through, it looks like it is, when are we going to get the bill? Can we pay just then?
Yep.
Or if you wanted to spread it out over, say, what is it, 10 years? How
I'll
much
answer.
interest is there?
I'll address that at the end of public comment.
Thank you, sir.
Yep.
You guys have
Thank you, you too. Any other public comment? Hearing none, we'll close the floor for public comment and move back to board comment. So with a project like this, we just don't have $1.3 million laying around, so we would bond for this. And the amount that we bond is going to have an impact on the amount that everybody pays. So there's going to be some people who may choose to prepay the roughly $10,000. The timing of this, sometimes we can be far enough into a project to where we know. In this case, there's a need to probably bond before the project is complete so that we have sufficient money to pay the contractor. So at some point, if we get far enough into the project and we're moving forward, we're going to send out a bill and we're going to give everybody a chance to pay that in full. If they choose to pay it in full, that reduces, so let's just say the project is 1.3 million, it's just for even numbers. Everybody has a bill for 10 grand and 100 people pay 10 grand, so whatever, well, I guess it wouldn't be probably that much. Say 50 people pay 10 grand, so I got $500,000. Now we're only financing 800,000 and that reduces those costs. We have to be careful because at any time you can prepay that, but we can't prepay those bonds. So we don't want to over borrow and then be stuck paying interest on a note for 10 years. So we love to see people prepay. But sometimes at a sale of a home, sometime between that 10-year period, someone sells the home and they say, well, we want that paid off as a part of the sale. Boom, we get that paid off and it reduces the amount of revenue. So the whole bonding process is itself a challenge. The good news is we can borrow money cheaper than probably anybody here because we can issue tax-free municipal bonds. Bond market's not afraid of getting paid because we're here for eternity. We're a taxing entity. Should spread out over 10 years, but you will have a chance to prepay. You can prepay whatever.
Yeah, and at any point during the assessment, if, you work for one of the big three and they give you a profit sharing check and you're like, you know what, I want to make that go away now, you can make it go away now with interest due to that point only, so that there is, you can clear up that liability off your taxes. And I know our treasurer, Mr. Tominello, works very hard to make sure we're financing the right amount so that we don't overextend ourselves and take into account any of those prepayment requirements.
Any other board discussion? Hearing none, we've got a motion by Ms. Brown with support by Mr. Olgiati to adopt resolution number 4 as discussed. Mr. Witt, will you please take the roll call?
Yes, Ms. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Olgiati?
Yes.
Mr. Batkins?
Yes.
Mr. Brado?
Yes.
Mr. Tominello is excused. Mr. Witt? Yes. Mr. Verkest?
Yes. Thank you, board. All right, next on our agenda, thank you. Next on our agenda is item E1 regarding hiring a water and sewer utility worker. Board members, at our last board meeting, this board approved the hire of a utility worker position for the water and sewer department. I also reported then that we had another opening and would be interviewing candidates. There was not a recommendation as the publication of the agenda, but we do have a name now. The starting salary is the same, $52,321.90, plus benefits. The hiring is subject to a physical, a drug test, and a 90-day probationary period. I recommend that we hire, get the name here, sorry. Jonah Munio, for the position of Water and Sewer Utility Worker 1 at a starting salary of $52,321.90 plus benefits, subject to a physical, drug test, and 90-day probationary period.
I'll make that motion.
All right, is there support?
Support.
Okay, we got a motion by Mr. Badkins, with support by Mr. Olgiati. Discussion on the motion. Hearing none and seeing no public comment, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, board. Next on the agenda, item F1 regarding the water and sewer.
I'm F, so I couldn't participate, but these are my objections. Can you want those on record? Thank you.
Regarding water and sewer, promotional language, letter of agreement. Board members, we negotiated new language for the water and sewer utility.
Mr. Supervisor, I'm sorry. I don't mean to get off track here, but we just received a written objection, as well as somebody else handled me written objections. They are after the public hearing. Can this board make a motion to accept those, or, I mean, because right now, under the law, we can't accept them as they're after the public hearing and outside of the time for written to be received. So we either have to reject them and not accept them, so they wouldn't be on the record, or the only way I would feel comfortable including these people, and this is what they desired, I feel we should make a motion to accept them, to add that to the public hearing.
That's the proper and recommended way to handle it. Go ahead and accept them.
Okay, I just didn't want to miss anybody and,
Sure.
you know.
Is it a total of 2, or do you know?
I don't know.
But whatever it is,
We
right?
received a number of them.
You have some handwritten.
Yeah, so.
So we'd be looking for, I guess,
Yeah.
I don't know if I have to give it, I don't have to give it an agenda item number, do I?
No, we can just do another
Okay.
motion here.
So
Just
I
a
think
motion
would be
to
appropriate, yeah.
accept the late delivered written objections to the special assessment district.
Support.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I'm happy to make it.
Okay, so we've got a motion with support to accept the additional written objections to the Archer Party Canal.
Yeah.
Or Archer Lakeshore Canal.
Correct.
Dredging. Discussion, board? Hearing none and seeing no public comment, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Super.
Yep, no problem. Good point. Anyways, we negotiated new language for the water and sewer utility worker positions back in the 2024 contract. After working with this language, the township and the union agree that there is a need to make some changes to Article 40, which is the article that defines how promotions are handled. Attached is a proposed letter of agreement that we believe will solve these problems. The letter of agreement has been approved by the union, and I am recommending that we approve the letter of agreement modifying Article 40 of the GELC General Employees Union Contract. Simply stated, we had kind of an automatic kind of language, and what we're seeing is we've had a number of retirements for some of maybe the senior members, and so we moved toward modifying that language to limit it to 2, and we acknowledged that there are 2 individuals currently that we believe qualify for this, so the letter of agreement acknowledges Theodore Garwood and Garrett Yaney to be promoted to utility worker 2, assuming this letter of agreement were to be approved. It was negotiated between the township, the leadership of the Water and Sewer Department, and the leadership of the union that these gentlemen work in. So looking for a motion to approve the letter of agreement.
I'll make that motion.
Okay. Support. Got a motion by Mr. Badkins with support by Mr. Olgiati. Any discussion?
It just says they must acquire their CDLA.
Yeah, so what happened was, in essence, when we had done this, we recognized that there was kind of a need to tier the employee positions, and we wanted to try to incentivize those. And the majority of the young people that we hire kind of are just coming in as kind of green, no different than any other trade. They're apprentices. And so sending folks for the CDLA certification, there's a cost we have. The language says that if they get it and, they leave, they've, got to reimburse us, blah, blah, blah. But it was designed to be a tool to take a group of young guys and say, hey, for example, Ted and Garrett are good guys, are doing a good job, we want to get you trained for CDLA. We've been working with this contract, and we hadn't taken that step. And we've got someone who came in who is, newer, I guess, who happened to already have a CDLA. And we said, well, our intention wasn't to just hire someone and give it to them. Our intention was to use sending them to school, because it's a 40-hour class. There's some cost for the schooling, as a kind of an incentive or a way to reward, encourage, people trying to advance themselves. So we're, in essence, giving them this utility worker 2 position, recognizing you're the next 2 guys going to school, but we also recognize that we signed this contract in 24, and we only had 1 person in that position, and we hadn't done that training. which, to be fair, some of the training has changed. So in essence, our concession was, hey, we should be moving a couple guys up. We're going to pick 2. But the contract we had before said 4 would move up. So we're saying now it's a minimum of 2.
Gotcha. Okay.
All right? And I thought I included Article 40 in the...
It's in there.
Is it?
Yep.
It's not in, is it way at the end? It's not in my packet. When I scrolled down to see it, I was looking for it. Do you have it?
No.
No.
Oh, I'm sorry, this is just the letter
The
of
letter.
agreement that.
Yeah, I got the letter of agreement,
Yeah,
but I
that
thought I attached
mentions
Articles.
Article 40.
Maybe I attached the LOA and not the article, but if anybody wants it, I can email it to you. Okay, any discussion? Hearing none, we've got a motion with support to approve this letter of agreement. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Thank you, Board. Next, item F2. Board members, at our last meeting, I asked to add an agenda item to consider what kind of liability insurance coverage we might choose. We have used MMRMA for our liability coverage for over 10 years with excellent results. During our renewal meeting with the broker on the Friday before our last meeting, we learned that we had an option to stay with our pooled coverage or to switch to a different type of coverage with a higher deductible. I had not expected that, and I didn't have a reason to say that we should change, but I also didn't feel that I was empowered, so I told the broker, well, I'll bring it. We discussed it, and some of the board members say I'd like to table that decision once more information was available. So Tuesday after the meeting, I sent an email to the broker. He replied later that same day, and I forwarded that to board members. It had a breakdown of what the various coverages are and kind of a spreadsheet of what our costs would have been looking back, I think, at the last 3 years. So I trust that everyone had a chance to review the broker's information. It is very close, and we'll be forced to go to the retainage model and away from the pooled coverage, probably in the year or 2. So there was value in talking about it, but at this point, I'm recommending that we renew our liability insurance coverage with MMRMA with the pooled deductible coverage.
I'll make that motion.
Okay.
Support that motion.
Okay, we've got a motion by Mr. Witt, with support by Mr. Olgiati. Any discussion on the motion?
I just want to thank you for sending that back over to you. It kind of clarified things for me. It made it much more clear, and the broker that in his letter, I was appreciative of his attitude and how he termed it, even saying we had 90 days if we did want to make a decision right off the bat. So it was very, very helpful.
Yeah,
To look at it in that form. So
Yeah, so we're not up against any deadline. We're in
Thank you.
good shape. All right, any other discussion? Hearing none, we've got a motion with support to renew our coverage with the pooled deductible coverage. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Thank you, Board. Next is item F3 regarding easement acquisition. Board members, we have been successful in securing grants to cover the cost to erect a pedestrian bridge, at least majority of the costs, to erect a pedestrian bridge over the spillway at Jefferson. Some of the funds are from federal sources that place additional certain requirements on the easement acquisition process. As a township in Michigan, we cannot receive federal funds directly. They must go through a road agency, and in our case, that's the Macomb County Department of Roads. Department of Roads typically charges a small fee, 1%, which covers their costs to administer the grant. The easement acquisition process for this project has proven to be more difficult than originally anticipated, and Department of Roads is concerned that they are incurring expenses in excess of their administrative fee. The process is not complete, but they are anticipating these additional costs will exceed the $5,000 spending limit that I can authorize. Therefore, I am requesting that the board approve a budget for easement acquisition not to exceed $20,000. I believe this is a conservatively high budget, but I want to make sure we have sufficient funds without coming back to the board.
Make a motion to approve the easement acquisition budget not to exceed $20,000.
Is there support?
Support.
All right. Got a motion by Mr. Witt with support by Mr. Brado. Their attorney's been involved, their right-of-way person has been involved. We looked at, you write it this way, you can't do condemnation. We believe we aren't going to run into problems with the easements, but we have been asking for additional help with the process, and I think this is a necessary step. Any discussion? Hearing none and seeing no public comment, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Thank you, Board. Next, item F4 regarding a mechanical inspector. Since our last meeting, our part-time mechanical inspector submitted his resignation. Our building official reached out to his contacts and found a well-qualified individual. Mr. Roy Pung is a dual-certified mechanical and plumbing inspector. He is available and can meet our inspection requirements, and his dual certification is a plus. I recommend that we hire Roy Pung as part-time mechanical inspector at the current rate of $37.50 per hour. Of course, as you know, there's no benefits with that. We are seeing that these part-time inspectors are in demand, and we may need to look at our hourly rate schedule. I would like to form a subcommittee to work with our building official to examine our pay scale and see if there's a need to revise our part-time trades inspector hourly rate. In anticipation of this, I asked Mr. Condon to, some of the, I guess, to kind of do a little survey. Some of our peers have enough work and maybe in a growth phase to where they have full-time inspectors. We do not have full-time trades inspectors, plumbing, mechanical, electrical. But there's a need to make sure that we're compensating at a competitive rate and, combine that with a predictable workload. And, we just want to make sure that we've got folks that are willing to stick around for a while. And so I would like to, form a subcommittee. So the recommendation is to hire Roy Pung as part-time mechanical inspector at the current rate of $37.50 an hour, and form a subcommittee consisting of 3 individuals to work with a building official to review our part-time trades inspector hourly rate and report back to the board. So first, I'd be looking for a motion, and then also, if that's, if it's seconded, maybe some suggestions on who might be interested in serving on that subcommittee.
I'll make the motion.
All right,
I'll support it.
okay. All right, and then secondly, I would like to be a part of it, as the building department is under the purview of the supervisor, but I'd be looking for, I don't know if we have anybody that has any experience with construction or any knowledge of the trades.
Can't think of soul.
No smart people, no smart people, so. I would accept
Okay.
that if.
And then, so then the other would be someone else that might also be interested in serving. And again, I would like to be a part of it. I can kind of, I get staff, so if we need to do something, I can have Stephanie do some research.
Yeah, I would make that part of my motion.
Okay,
If nobody else wants to do it, I'll be more than happy to help out.
all right, if everybody is comfortable with that, the subcommittee would be myself, Mr. Badkins, and Mr. Olgiati. Was that
Sounds great.
Sounds good.
a continued support?
Yes.
Okay, discussion? Hearing none and seeing no public comment, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. All right, next is public comments. Right before our adjournment, those comments can be about any subject that you wish. Just come on up to the podium, and we ask you to try to limit those to 5 minutes in length or less.
C. William Bardell, 29-year resident, clean cut, do-gooder boy next door, clean up, fix up, people helping people. Just want to remind everyone about Save Lake St. Clair on Facebook. Stay up to date. There's a little bit of reading material there for you. And with that, have a wonderful evening. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other public comment? Seeing no other public comment, we'll close the floor for public comment. Any further board comment?
I just have a question.
Yeah.
During the discussion about the SADs, some of the folks raised concern about being in the park. The sediment that was removed from,
Harbor Point?
yes, Harbor Point, that was in our other park,
Mhm.
and our other park was open, is that correct?
Yes.
So all the testing and everything that happened prior to met all the requirements for state, federal, local laws. So I didn't know if we were renovating it at the time, but I thought it was open because we had a couple concerts
Yeah.
with some parking issues. So I wanted to bring that point up, that we've, this isn't a single time we've done this. We've done it before.
We've done it before.
Yep.
We did delay the work until after Labor Day, and I don't know, I don't feel like the concert was in at the same, I thought we waited until after the
We
concert.
waited.
Oh, we did.
We
Right,
waited just
right.
till busy season was
Because it was
done.
half the parking
Yes.
lot was.
But our last concert was pretty full, and we did have some parking issues. That was the last concert that the band, that particular band performed, so they had a lot of family and friends there on top of the regular.
I did talk to the Parks and Rec Committee about that parking.
Yeah.
too.
Yep.
And, I mean, for that small of a project, that was a lot of property, a lot of material that came out of there.
Yeah.
You can see how that's what I was trying to explain. This project is massive. It's like 10 times bigger than our project over there. I mean, it's really, really big, and just like Adam said, they're gonna have to go to a two times, at least two
Two-phase.
times, maybe even three times, because man, I'm telling you what, I couldn't believe how big those bags were and how full they were. They pulled a lot of sediment out of that channel, a lot of sediment.
Yep, that was just a point of interest that I wanted to ask, because I thought it was right. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, I'd be looking for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All right, is there support?
Support.
All right, discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries, meeting adjourned. Thank you, board.